Okay guys, so now we're going to be solving nonlinear polynomial inequalities. Okay, so how do we solve a nonlinear or polynomial inequalities? Okay, so what does this even mean? So in the AP exam, you're going to get something like this. Let's say you have this problem, and you're going to have f of x, and you're going to have f of x equals x minus 3, x plus 1. Of course, you're not going to have the same problem, but this is an example. X and x plus 4. And they're telling you, they're going to tell you in some wording that you need to find where the values are, where the f of x values are, where f of x is greater than 0, for example. They could ask you if it's less than 0, greater than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 0, but in this one, we're going to keep it to greater than 0, okay? So the first thing you need to do is identify the zeros of this polynomial function, okay? So you're going to have what? You're going to have an x equals 3 there. You're going to have an x equals -1, and you're going to have an x equals -4, okay? If any of these zeros had multiplicity, so if you had a multiplicity here 2, you would actually include that. You cannot stop including the multiplicity. So if you had like 3 here, you would include it, okay? I'm going to mean by what I mean by including later, okay? So, about right now, basically, okay? So now that we have identified the zeros, we're going to make a number line, okay? So we're going to make a number line right there. And we're going to plug the zeros in, okay? So -4, we have -1, and we have 3, okay? Now, we need to find, basically, when when the y values, so, on the graph, you have, let's say you have this graph right here, you have boom, boom, boom. The y values from this interval are positive. The y values from -infinity to this interval are negative. The y values from this interval to this interval are negative. The y values from this interval to positive infinity are positive. So that's basically what we're trying to find here. That's literally all they're asking you. Intuitively and on the graph, that's all they're asking you. But this is just, the more algebraically, like the more algebraic way to do it, basically. Okay, but yeah. Okay, so let's say this is -infinity, of course, we already know that, and this is positive infinity, okay? So from -infinity to -4, okay? So we're gonna write this interval down. From -infinity to -4, we need to find if this is positive, and the y values are positive, because remember, f of x, that's the y values, okay? So from this interval, from -infinity to -4, is it positive or negative? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug, we're gonna choose any numbers. We're gonna choose -5 because it's the closest one, right? And we're going to plug this -5 into the equation. Now, keep in mind, if you had multiplicity, so if you had a x minus 3 to the, to the second, you would actually include the second. So you would plug this -5 there. -5 minus 3 gives you -8, and you would square that. Okay. In this case, we don't have that. So, since we don't have that, we don't have to, include the multiplicity there, or like the square. We don't have to square any of our results. Okay. So, we don't have to do that. But if you did have multiplicity on all these, and on any of these, you would have to use the multiplicity. Okay, you would have to square it, cube it, whatever you need to do. Okay, so let's plug in -5. -5 minus 3, that's -8. So it's going to be a negative. The only thing you need is the negative. You do not need the number. You do not need the number. If you need to write the number out, then if that helps you, then do it. But you only need the sign. Okay, so that's negative. -5 plus 1, that's negative again. And that's going to make it positive, and then then we have -5 plus 4, that's another negative, so that's going to make a negative. Okay, so this whole section right here is negative. Okay, so that's now one of the intervals. Okay, that's now one of the answers. Okay, so from -4 to -1, let's see what we get here. Okay, so we're going to choose -3, good number. -3, that's going to be negative. -3 plus 1, that's going to be negative. -3 plus 4, that's actually going to be positive. So you're going to get a positive, and that's going to give you a positive. So this is positive right here. Positive, positive, positive. Okay, -1 to 3, you're going to get, we're going to use 0. So we're going to have negative. By the way, you can use any number. Any number between -1 to 3, you can use it. Any number between -4 to -1, you can use it. Okay, now, I actually forgot to point this out. If you have, right here, we have open intervals because it's greater than. It's not greater than or equal to, it's greater than. Okay, so all these are going to be open interval. Now, if you had something like this or something like this, then you would need to fill it in. okay? You need to fill it in. So we need to fill that in right there. But in this one we have open interval, so we don't need to do all that. Excuse me. Okay? So all right, so let's keep going. Okay, so from -1 to 3, all right, so we had we had 0. We're gonna use 0, right? So 0, that's it's negative. 0 plus 1 is positive. 0 plus 4 is positive. That's going to be negative. Okay, so this is going to be negative interval right there. So the y values are negative during that interval. And then from 3 to infinity, we're going to choose the number 4. That's positive. That's positive, and that's positive. So this is positive right there. Positive, positive. Okay, so on which of these intervals you can choose multiple intervals, by the way. Which of these intervals is are the y values greater than 0, or are the in which of these intervals are the y values positive, basically? Well, from -4 to -1. Union, you always use union from 3 to infinity. You can also write this as, for example, -4 x -1. You can also see this writing like this, union 3x infinity. Okay, that's how you write these things. Okay, so that's the answer to the problem.